one of the chief benefits of disconnection is that it actually can allow you to simply survive a more stressful situation. Like if you think about it, there's a reason that you're not checking your bank balance. There's a reason that you're hiding from your credit card statement. And that reason is probably spelled STRESS. If you're already in a high stress moment in life, which if you're struggling financially, there's a very good chance that you are, then adding more stress isn't going to improve the situation. Welcome to the Manifesting Millions podcast, where we talk about manifestation, money, and practical guidance to creating your dream reality. My name is Amy Van Meel, and I am an experienced coach and transformation guide, obsessed with helping you get out of your own way and create a life that blows your mind each day you wake up. My goal in this podcast is to share practical manifestation, self-awareness, and growth techniques in real talk conversations. So if you're ready to massively transform your reality, your finances, your relationships, and your overall enjoyment of life, you are in the right place. I am absolutely delighted that you're here with me today, babe. Let's get into it. Hello, my loves, and welcome back to the Manifesting Millions podcast. Today, we are stepping into part 3 of the 5-part series discussing the 5 energies of money. I trust that you have been enjoying the first 2 parts to this series, and we're only we're literally right in the middle. This is the hump of the 5 energies. Just a real quick, I don't remember if I've said this on the previous episodes or not. There is no specific order to how I'm presenting the parts other than what is clear and present and flowing through for me as this is the one that I want to talk about this week. So I trust that you've been enjoying the scarcity abundance episode, the greed generosity episode. Today we're going to be talking about disconnection and flow, which I'm super fucking excited to get into. And just as a quick reminder, I said this is part 3 of a 5-part series. This particular series is kind of special. It's a lot special. It's cute special. What's different about this series than, for example, the investing series that I did earlier this year, and I've done a few different series where we do sort of a collection of episodes that are all centered on one topic, is that this series has a 2-part element to it, meaning the first portion of the episode is shared here publicly on the Manifesting Millions podcast, where anybody can have a listen to it. You don't got to pay to play. You don't got to do any of that. You just got to press play. And the first part of the episode includes the definition of the energy that we're talking about, how those energies can show up or what they can look like in our life, and what's great or not so great about those energies. The back half of the episode, the remainder, the second portion, the part where the magic lies, covers a different element of it, such as how do we shift the lower frequency energy? How can we maintain the higher frequency energy? Why do we even care about it? And then some reflection questions or homework or activities, insights for you to work on during the week. And that second half is all shared on a private podcast feed that you need to register to get access to. So if you are stumbling onto part 3 first, you haven't listened to the first 2 parts, that's totally fine. This might be totally new to you. Or if you've listened to almost 3, because you're in the process of listening to the third one, but you haven't yet registered for the private podcast episode feed, then I highly recommend that you do, because OMG, what I share in the back half of the episode is so freaking good. All you need to do is go to amyvanmeel.com / money and the number 5. And of course, that URL is in the show notes. And you pop in your name and your email address. and you will get access to that private podcast feed. You'll get the full episodes. You don't have to like try to listen to the first half here and then the second half over there. You could just listen to the entire episode on the private podcast feed. Like I said, totally free to access this series, and there's no time limit on how long you have to access it. Like, this is just going to be something that I have available. This particular release cycle that the parts are coming out on are part of a very specific launch that I have coming up starting November 4th for the Building Fempires program, which will be the last enrollment period for 2024. And then, of course, we head into 2025, and I don't know just yet what the full launch schedule for 2025 is going to be. Of course, there will be enrollment options in 2025. This program is so good. I want to keep getting it into the hands of amazing people like you. But look, 2024 is starting to hit its wrap mode, right? Like, I literally just got a thing from Spotify today that was like, hey, update your app so that you can get the Spotify Wrapped at the end of the year. And I'm like, but it's like October. Okay. So we are starting to look towards the end of the year. Why is that important? December in particular is a time, I think, that we tend to review the year that has passed, that is finished, that is complete, that has moved through our timeline, right? And we tend to look ahead to like, okay, what is next year going to be like? How can it be different? How can it be better? How can it be more exciting? And what's going to like, this is the year that I'm finally going to put whatever it is that you will put in the blank space. I think so many of us finish the year with some like broad categories in mind. For example, very, very popular one is I'm going to crush my health goals this year. And that's why we have all these resolutions about I'm finally going to get in shape and I'm going to eat healthy, and gym memberships spike and then they fall off like 2 months later. One of them is in the area of like finances and money, and just I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to make more money. I'm going to finally get my spending under control. I'm going to create a budget and follow it. I'm going to whatever that looks like. And this is where the Building Fempires program comes in so good. I could not finish that sentence because I was like, how do I function? How do I form that word? OMG. It's been a weird week. Okay. So like, I apologize if my words are kind of struggling a little, but let me try that again. Here is why the Building Fempires program is so perfectly aligned with this particular timing. So enrollment opens on November 4th, and I believe the enrollment window is going to be roughly 2 weeks. So you'll have a nice juicy period to like review the sales page, re-listen to this podcast series, check out any other podcasts, follow me on the gram or on the TikToks, and like kind of get a sense of who I am and what I'm about and some of the teachings that I share. And then you can make the decision to invest in yourself and enroll in this program. The minute that you enroll, there's no waiting. You don't have to like wait, like, okay, in 4 weeks, the program's going to be released. No. The minute that you enroll, once your like payment goes through, you'll get an email from the platform that has like your login information, get you access, and you will have access to the program right away, which means that you literally can start changing how you experience and relate to money immediately. You don't have to wait for January to roll around in order to create that shift. You just go, yep, I'm ready. And then you literally hit the ground running in 2025. Like, imagine this for just a second. Imagine that instead of waiting and feeling a little bit low as December is coming to a close because you just feel like you haven't hit the goals, you're not really sure how you're going to reach your goals for next year, you have an idea in mind of wanting to get a promotion, but who knows what that's going to look like, you're feeling kind of deflated and frustrated by how this year has gone and all of the like weight and stuff that's happened, and you want so much to create change, but you're also like, fuck me, how do I make that actually happen, right? So you don't take any change, you don't do anything different, you just keep going, and all of a sudden it's a year down the road and you're like, why am I still experiencing this? This year seemed to feel Very similar to the year that just passed. I still want to get in shape. I still feel like I don't have enough money. I still feel like I don't quite get and like understand how money works and everything else. Why has nothing changed? Well, nothing changed because you didn't take any action to change it. So this is my very specific, very personal, very warm invite to you to say, hey, you can change that reality literally anytime. I have this beautiful like space for you to jump in and start shifting how you see and experience money immediately. And what I love and am challenged by when I'm like in full like business owner mode and attempting to like write sales pages and write social captions and do all that kind of jazz is how do I create a tangible potential outcome for folks who invest in this program? And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know. And the reason why I struggle is not because I'm like, well, it doesn't really work. It's because it could be a million different things. So let me just paint a few scenarios for you, okay? And then I promise we're going to get in the episode. This is flowing through its very present. So this is why I'm going with it right now. So let's paint a few scenarios. You go through the program. You learn some like critical key concepts about money that you never knew before that completely shift how you view money and how you interact with money, okay? Already, like, that is life-changing in and of itself. When I learned what I share about credit cards inside the Building Vampires program, I am not kidding you when I say that it's completely changed my life. And it's changed my life multiple times over because the collection of knowledge that's inside the program is knowledge that I've accrued over more than 20 years. So it's not like I learned one thing one time and I'm like, that's it, I'm done learning. No, I've learned a thing and then I learned another thing and then I learned another thing. So that's one possible transformation. Now let's say, for example, that perhaps you have long wanted to begin your investment journey, but you've been absolutely fucking terrified of like getting involved in the investment field of finance. You're just like, oh my God, it just seems like there's so much. I don't understand. I don't have millions of dollars to invest. What's the point anyway? But you understand there's this like deep soul calling inside of you that says, hey, this is a really great way for us to save towards our retirement or to have our money work for us, or just like as a smart, intelligent woman, this is a space that is a smart, intelligent space for me to be in. And you go through the program, you go through the module that talks about investing, you understand now how, like the framework of investing works. You understand the, what I'll call like the base pieces of like stocks and EFTs and all the rest so that you can make a clear and informed decision. And now instead of waiting and kind of wondering and trying to watch YouTube video after YouTube video, but feeling completely lost and overwhelmed, you've made your first investment and oh my God, look at that. It's actually growing, right? You can literally see your money growing and you're doing fucking nothing for it other than you finally made the decision to do it. Let's talk about a bigger transformation, although those two are already pretty fucking big. Let's talk about you have always felt very disempowered when it comes to money. You feel like you don't get it. You've tried to learn about it, but every time you do, you just feel like completely lost. And you're like, oh my God, I don't understand what these people are talking about. And so historically, you just kind of do your best, but you always feel like you're missing some big piece. Then you go through the program. You enroll in Building Vampires, you click yes, I'm totally in. You do it on the payment plan or you do the pay in full, whichever one feels great to you. You engage into the content, you do the workbooks, you're learning, you're building, you're growing, you're realizing, oh my God, this whole like topic of money and finance is not as complicated as I was led to believe that it is. In fact, it's pretty clear. It's really simple. I just needed to be able to have it explained to me in a way that actually made it seem clear and simple. Well, okay, that's actually pretty cool. Now, what's coming out of this is that you're feeling much more confident. This confidence is like radiating out of you. What happens when you start to radiate confidence is that you're feeling more empowered, people respond to that. All of a sudden you're noticing shifts at work, maybe shifts in your relationship. Maybe you are single and you've been like really wanting to find a wonderful partner to share your life with, and all of a sudden you're like, "Oh my God, there's like this really amazing person who's showed up and we've started this relationship and it's really fucking cool. What the hell? What just happened?" You are being seen for the value that you have at work. Your boss is maybe giving you like public applause or calling you out to their boss. And all of a sudden, before you know it, there's a possibility for some kind of expansion in your career. Maybe it's a promotion. Maybe it's a raise. Maybe it's more responsibility that is like lining you up for a promotion and a raise. And you're kind of going, what did all of this come from? Like this just seems to all of a sudden be happening. These are true markers of what happens when you understand money, when you understand how your brain works, when you put the two together and you figure out how to start to craft the reality that you actually desire to live. And these are just like 3 possible transformations that like are options that, are available to you when you enroll inside the program. So like I said, when I try to put together like, here's what could happen, I'm like, oh my God, the possibilities are infinite. They're limitless. They're whatever you want them to be. It's just a matter of going in and like saying yes to this is the intent that I have. Let's create it. And then allowing life to unfold for you. So I feel like that sounds pretty good. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but if that sounds at all good to you, well, like I said, the invitation is opening up November 4th, and which is very soon because I believe it's October 30th that this episode is coming out, which means that like in 5 days, you're going to have the opportunity to make the decision and say yes that could completely change your life from now going forward. I mean, that's pretty fucking cool, right? All right, my loves, let's dive right into today's content. So today we're talking about disconnection and flow. And before we get into the definitions of both, I want to just take a second to talk about how do these two energies relate to money. I mean, at first thought, like disconnection and flow may not seem like money energy. And in fact, it may seem more as an energy or state of being as it relates to life in general or something more tangible like your work. However, I'm encouraging you today to hold an open mind because what I'm endeavoring to share with you today could really make a massive difference to how you not only see money, but also how you create or earn money, how you engage with your work, and how you engage with all the creative aspects of your life. All right, before we dive into the meat of today's content, I am going to just add a little disclaimer and a preemptive apology. I still am feeling a little bit of stuff in my throat from, oh my goodness, this like cold that's just been dragging on. And I feel like so many people, at least like across my social circles, have been experiencing the same thing. Like I feel so many people are getting sick. It's driving me nuts. And I've tried to record this a couple of times, each time stopping to like need to take a sip of water or quickly clear my throat. And it is super disconnecting for my flow state of getting this content out, which I think is hilarious, given that this week's particular episode is about disconnection and flow. So I'm just going to like make this agreement with you. I'm going to do my very best to not be clearing my throat all of the time and to like move away from the mic when I do that, but also that I'm not going to stop the recording and go from there. All right. So let's dive straight into the definitions. We're going to get right into what disconnection is as soon as I'm in the right spot of my notes. All right. So disconnection, as Google defines it, is the state of being isolated or detached. It can also be seen as a state of disconnection where we are separate from someone or something else and we are not fitting well together or we're not understanding each other. When I think of disconnection as an energy of money, I see it as a gap between things like what we believe, what we desire, what our thoughts are, the current experience of money in our life, I also see it as not understanding money or how we express our gifts. When we don't really understand money, we become disconnected from it. Disconnection as an energy of money is also really big when it comes to how we express our gifts. Now, to be clear, you don't need to monetize all of your gifts, okay? Yeah, this is the reality of my life when I try to talk right now. So, we don't need to monetize all of our gifts. I saw something on the socials, I think last week, that was like, I think it was like millennials or whatever, were the first generation to feel like they had to monetize all of their hobbies and all of their gifts. I love to bake. I talk about it often. And I've definitely had countless people ask me why I haven't started a bakery. But baking is something that I do for fun. It's because I enjoy it. I have no interest in starting a bakery. I think people look at this like skill that I have and the joy that I have in doing it, and also like this natural tendency I have to build and grow businesses. And they're like, well, Amy, that would be perfect. But the expression of our gifts doesn't have to necessarily mean an exchange in terms of like a monetary gain, right? Like sometimes we just express our gifts for fun. The other thing is that the expression of our gifts and the things we enjoy are usually coming from an energy of joy, love, peace, relaxation, abundance. All these energies are actually energy that money can respond to. And a very cool thing that I've coached lots of people on over the years is how to take elements of their own unique gifts that may have no direct correlation to the work that they do, and then to integrate that expression into their work. And what happened every single time when my clients learned how to integrate this natural expression that they do. So, for example, like let's say they do something like baking, and we find a way to overlay a skill or an ability or a habit or some part of that gift into their work. Well, then they become magnets to opportunities and expansion. And that's what's really cool about expressing our gifts. That's why when we feel disconnected from that expression, it can also, of course, impact our energy of money. Let's talk about flow. So, defining flow is a little bit trickier. One understanding of flow is the steady, continuous stream or current of something, right? Like we think about this when it comes to water or electricity. We can also describe it as circulation, right? Where something is continually moving around. I also really love this description that I read of flow, thinking about it to a broader sense of life, where flow is a state of mind that occurs when a person is totally immersed in an activity. It can occur during a wide variety of tasks, such as when a person is learning, being creative, or participating in a sport. When in a flow state, people pay no attention to distractions and time seems to pass without any notice. And I am actually going to talk about how to intentionally create a container of flow for anything that you're wanting to like create a flow state in the back half of this podcast. Now, thinking about flow as an energy of money, we could describe it as the continuous cycling of money, right? Money flows in, money flows out. It's a steady, continuous stream. Now, what often tends to happen, especially when we are feeling financially pressed, is that it sometimes feels like there's more of like a little trickle in and like a tidal wave out, right? And we really kind of like push back against that feeling. We can also define flow as it relates to money as the state where you are so deeply in touch with your inside source energy that money simply flows to you. It's unable to keep its sweet little hands off you because you just feel so good to be around, right? So let's talk a little bit about how these two energies can show up. What can they look like in our life? And yeah, how can we kind of begin to recognize whether or not we are in these states of energy? Okay, so disconnection. A big one for disconnection, specifically related to the energy of money, is simply knowing the circulation and current balance of your money. Now, this is why one of the first things almost all money books and programs talk about is to sit down and truly look at and take note of the money in your life, right? Everything from your bank account balance to the bills that you pay to the balance on your credit cards or your loans, your lines of credit. It's definitely, I think, one of the least favorite actions for folks who are already feeling stressed and struggling with money, because if you're already feeling so crappy about it, you don't really need to immerse yourself into more pain and stress and low vibe feelings, right? That you experience anytime you review your money. Totally get that. Felt that for a lot of years. We'll share in the back half how we can shift some of that. Disconnection can also look like blacking out or being completely unaware when you spend money. I used to lead a team that supported a shopping app that like you could order products through. It started as like a tracking app. So like originally just like you'd place an order and it would like track the items and kind of let you know where it was in terms of its shipping. What I heard over and over in conversations, and oddly in a lot of interviews, which I thought was kind of funny, was how people would buy things and then completely forget that they had purchased anything until it showed up on the tracking pattern of their app or at their front door. That is actually a space of disconnection with money. When you buy things and you just like completely forget about them, you just kind of like they go completely outside of your mind, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I forgot this thing. That's a little bit of the energy of disconnection. There's also an energy of disconnection at play when you receive an overabundance of money, right? Like you get a bonus, you get a tax return that you didn't expect. Someone gives you some money for like your birthday or because it's Tuesday or whatever. What happens in that disconnected state, instead of maybe like saving it or investing it, or even something as simple as just letting it sit in your bank account for a little while, you have this driving need to make it go away. So you spend it or you immediately transfer it away. Now, I want to be clear, I'm not saying that it's bad to use that money. It's all about the energy of how you respond to it, right? So disconnection is the space of it needs to go away. It can't sit here. I can't feel connected to it. I think for entrepreneurs, my fellow entrepreneurs in particular, disconnection is a really tough space where we feel the sense of disconnect between all the tasks and the work that we do and the actual cash dollars that come in. I know for sure I struggle with this one. Like, how do we draw the line between making another social media post and selling a product, right? Like, assuming, of course, that that post isn't a specific selling post. If it's a value add, if it's a teaching post, if it's just, like a fun, I don't know, like Memes Friday kind of. Meme Monday? Oh, maybe that's a good one. We should do Meme Monday. Anyway, okay. I get distracted every now and again. Like, how do we draw the line between making that post and cash in the bank? How do we feel connection when we're setting up a freebie funnel that we trust is going to bring in new subscribers or clients, but we also know that, like, let's say, for example, you are listening to the podcast right now. You're like, oh my God, this is amazing. So you subscribe to the podcast. Thank you very much, by the way. Super love that you did that. Then you're like, oh, Amy has this like really cool freebie, AKA the 5 Energies of Money private podcast feed. So you go and sign up for the private podcast feed and you're like, okay, this is really awesome. Then I'm like, yay, I'm celebrating. Hey, we have a new follower on the podcast. I'm celebrating. Hey, we have this person that just like signed on for the private podcast feed. So they're going to get all the juicy goodness in the back. But like trying to explain this to somebody else is like, okay, so now my hope is that like what I'm sharing and what I'm teaching is going to connect with this person in such a way that it will activate a portal in their mind that they're going to go, oh my gosh, I actually, you know what, this is an area of my life that I want to improve, that I want to change, that I want to create some transformation in. Amy has this invitation for her program, which is opening up in a week or so. And that sounds really good to me. And I'm going to say yes. And now I'm signing up for that program. And then Amy, is going to be like celebrating, oh my gosh, I'm welcoming another student into the Building Vampires program. That's super exciting. But that's a lot of steps in between, right? The work that I started with and actually creating cash flow in my business. And that whole kind of series in between is this continual energy exchange between you and I. But I also, as the business owner, as the person opening this portal for both transformation and also income, need to be able to hold the connection in this space. Logically, we understand that, like, things like social media posts and freebie funnels and podcasts and all that jazz, these are all business expanding activities. But in the moment, if we're not getting paid by the hour like we do in a job, it can feel really, disconnected from the energy of money. I apologize. I feel like not like the sexiest and most appealing of humans. Oh, this fall is kicking my ass. Okay. Disconnection can also be a very subtle experience as well. So tell me if you've had this experience. I know I have this on the regular. For no reason that you can find or think of, you just feel kind of off. You feel lonely. You feel like your friends aren't thinking about you. You feel like your spouse or your partner is like completely wrapped up in something, barely notices you. You feel a little bit like Eeyore, right, from Winnie the Pooh with a cloud over your head. But like, there's no particular reason you feel this way. You kind of want to cry. You're thinking like, well, maybe a change of scenery will help. But you also don't really want to go through the trouble of like actually going somewhere, or hell, like putting on pants. I mean, come on, no thank you for that. You just kind of feel off. So this can be a disconnection that's experienced in your reality. And I have experiences so many times that what I've discovered, that when I was trying to find the root, I learned that often this sense of disconnection stems out of feeling disconnected from myself. We like to think we're always looking to external pieces, but actually this kind of disconnection energy is a disconnect from ourselves. And finally, disconnection can also show up when we don't understand money. All right. If we don't understand what it is, how it works, how best to use it, how to leverage it, how to feel good with it, and we refuse to engage in learning about it, that is disconnection. Now, unfortunately, disconnection is also something that I really feel is encouraged by financial institutions. And it's done so by having these like really overcomplicated or highly technical language and descriptions used to explain common financial tools, right? I mean, think about it. Like, I understand. I mean, it's been quite a while since I've had to like apply for and sign up for a loan. But I recall that all the times in the past that I've done so, whether it was like buying a car, getting a student loan, getting like a personal loan through the bank, like for whatever it was, there was pages and pages and pages of paperwork, which you're then given and often kind of expected to like review sitting in front of the person that's there with you. And you're like, oh God, this is like 15 or 20 pages of legalese. I'm not a lawyer. I got to read all through all of this. And what you discover, if you actually read it, which by the way, please actually read the paperwork. Just take your time and read it. If you actually go through and read it, what you discover is there's so much technical legal jargon that's in there. And I know from even like my early 20s, I'd be like, what is this like 15-page document actually telling me? What is this like this entire page? It's like section 4.2a. What is this supposed to mean? And ultimately it's like, well, it just means this. It's super simple, but there's like these really complicated explanations and like, and I part of me gets why, right? It's like the whole legal kind of blah. But that amount of like language, the way we describe things, the way we kind of interact with those kinds of tools, it feels very disconnecting for us. And that disconnection is so rampant. It's so disempowering. It's actually a huge part of the reason that I wrote the Building Fempires program in such a way. I wanted to put tangible financial understanding into the hands of smart, capable people like you. I'm so fucking tired of seeing people feel lost and disempowered when it comes to money. And like, wanting so much to try to do all the right things, but not really sure, like, what does that look like? So the really great news is if you're struggling with this particular energy of money and you're not really sure how to change it, I have got you covered. As I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, the Building Vampires program opens for enrollment on November 4th, which is like 5 days from today, if you are listening to this the day that the podcast drops. And it's going to be the last enrollment period for 2024. So be sure to mark your calendar and get on the wait list if you want to be emailed, or just put it on your calendar so you're like, right, it's here, I'm signing up. All right. Let's talk about the energy of flow and how flow can show up or what it can look like in our life. So flow, as an energy in general, is one that has become like really quite popular in personal growth and professional development circles in the last few years. I feel like it's really been talked about a lot. I see people talk about it as like the mecca or like this ultimate state for creatives in particular. This sort of dream space of just being like super deeply connected and creating out of like, oh my God, it's just this effortless action. Isn't this just amazing? Now, I won't lie to you. Someone who has learned how to easily tap into flow and to do so with regularity, and I will teach you how to do that in the back half. It is fucking awesome, okay? It's how I create all of my materials, including programs like Building Vampires, including the podcast, all the freebies I have available. It's foundational to how I coach my clients. Like, this energy of flow is super powerful and it feels so fucking good. It's also the energy that shows up like 99% of the time when I bake or when I puzzle, or if I'm going for like a drive through the mountains on like a day that people on the road are kind of like not being ding dongs, right? Like, I'll be honest with you. If the highway is packed, I'm generally not in a flow state. I'm like, okay, just focus, stay calm, and like ground in. But anytime I bake, or if I sit down to read, or if I sit down to do a puzzle or something, I really feel this flow state. And when I think about baking, because it's an like a doing thing, right? Like I have to obviously be present. I'm still doing things, I'm measuring stuff, whatever. But this flow state shows up because of a few things, like how I feel about baking, what I'm creating, the music that I put on, the energy of the day. There are certain days that are so juicy for doing some baking. Like, we're into fall, and I think it was a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I don't remember actually. But we had snow falling for the first time since last winter. And I just like every cell inside of me is like, this is a really good day to bake cookies. So I think I baked cookies and then just sent them with my husband to work. So I'm like, I don't actually need cookies. I don't need 5 dozen cookies sitting in my freezer. Like, what am I going to do with them? But I love the energy of baking and being in that space. And so I just gift them away. Speaking about flow as related to money. So flow can show up when you reach that state where you feel at ease about bills. Okay, they're paid regularly with zero stress. You're not lying awake at night like freaking out about them. It's just handled. It could be when you create the experience of feeling completely untriggered by things like your credit card statements or having to call a financial institution. It also could be the flow state when you are so immersed in your work that you effortlessly create. Okay. Now, what I want to be clear is that when I say create, this doesn't mean that you have to be a traditional creative like an artist or a singer or anything like that. You could be oh my goodness, you could be in HR or engineering or the cashier at the grocery store or anything. In those jobs, you are still creating. Now, I'm going to give you a super tangible example of that. Back when I was like 18, I had a job at Walmart as a cashier. All right. I didn't have the language or understanding back then to describe what felt like a flow state, but I knew the days that I was feeling low and the days that I was feeling in flow. So the days that I wasn't feeling in flow, everything felt hard. The customers were less friendly. The time really seemed to drag on. I felt really gross in my body. I just experienced a whole range of emotions like frustration and disconnection and disappointment and this oh my God, this deep gnawing wondering, is this the way it's going to be for the rest of my life, right? We get this real woe is me kind of space happening in our brain when we're in the space of disconnection. But the days that I was in flow, those were amazing. I connected easily and effortlessly with customers coming through my line. Grumpy pants people, they just rolled off my back like I was Teflon. It didn't mean anything about me. I was like, well, I hope you have a great day. Nothing else sort of got stuck on me. I tended not to notice time. And I'd be surprised if suddenly it was break time or time to go home. I'm like, wait, I've already been here for 8 hours. I got to go now. Oh, all right, cool. I laughed more easily. I did the work really easy. It just all felt effortless. So my point is that it doesn't matter what kind of work you do. Flow energy exists everywhere. Now, the trickier part of flow energy when it comes to money is discovering how to create it when you're in a moment of reality where you have less than you desire to have financially, and even more so when you are straight up struggling or you have your back against the wall. And I'm going to touch about this in the back half of this episode, how to create it and how to maintain flow. So this is your gentle, friendly reminder that if you have not yet registered for the private podcast feed, consider this your giant friendly invite from me to register for that now by going to amyvanmeel.com/money and the number 5. And of course, that URL is in the show notes. So let's talk about what is great about disconnection. So straight up, all right, one of the chief benefits of disconnection is that it actually can allow you to simply survive a more stressful situation, all right? If you think about it, there's a reason that you're not checking your bank balance. There's a reason that you're hiding from your credit card statement. And that reason is probably spelled STRESS, right? If you're already in a high stress moment in life, which if you're struggling financially, there's a very good chance that you are, then adding more stress isn't going to improve the situation. Now, please don't hear this as Amy said I never have to look at and understand my money, because that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that disconnection also has a purpose. To give this another great thing about disconnection, something that I love very much about disconnection is that sometimes there is a disconnect in my knowledge about how to attain something. And I know that doesn't sound like a good thing, but let me give you an example. I was working with my coach a few months ago, and she led me through this process. I don't even remember what the process is, and it doesn't matter. But when we finished, she was so excited, and she exclaimed how amazing it was that I had so effortlessly done the thing. Because she said most people really struggle with that. It's actually pretty hard to do. But nobody told me it was hard, right? She didn't go, okay, this is a really hard process. It's going to be really tough. People really struggle with this. We're going to try it anyway. So I didn't have any belief or nagging thoughts that this needed to be hard. So it wasn't, right? That disconnection can be really great. It's why I also get really frustrated when someone's like, oh, I want to start a business, or, oh, I want to learn how to, ride a bike, or I want to learn how to do something. And then someone goes, oh man, that's really hard. Wow, you're really brave. Why are we fucking telling them that, right? It doesn't have to be hard, but if you put in this oh my God, it's supposed to be hard, then I guess it must be hard. Another example of disconnection that is super, super juicy and helpful, I really enjoy hot dogs. All right? Don't start emailing me. I have learned over the years that if I am going to say to anybody that I really enjoy hot dogs, I very likely need to be ready to respond to the minute I've learned how to see the like tiny little changes happening in their face and in their eyes when they go, oh my God, I need to tell her, do you know what's in hot dogs? And I see that. And before they get anywhere close to forming the first word, I'm like, I don't fucking care what's in them. I don't want to know. You do not need to like disabuse me of whatever notion you are about to tell me right now. I enjoy hot dogs and that's all there is to it. Right? That disconnection is really serving me. And I know some of you are gonna be like, but Amy, like hot dogs are not. Let's be clear. I eat like 2 hot dogs a year, okay? It's not like I'm stuffing my face with hot dogs 5 days a week. But when I eat them, I'm really enjoying them. And I need that disconnection in order to allow myself to enjoy it. To color that in a little further, this is going to probably sound weird to lots of people because I know lots of my friends are like, I don't understand. I literally cannot eat meat off the bone. So I can't do chicken wings. I can't do, oh my God, I was at a wedding one time that was like a half chicken and I did my best. And the second that my knife hit the bone, I nearly threw up and I was just done. I can't do like a T-bone steak. I can't do ribs. I can't do chicken thighs. I can't do anything that has the bone in the meat. Just straight up cannot eat it. It's not that I would rather puke. It's just that I very likely will throw up. Yes, I understand this is a mental block. Again, you don't need to email me all the things. The other thing is, if meat looks like it came straight from an animal, I have a very hard time trying to eat it. To give an example, we were on a 5-star cruise a few years ago, and the meal that night was some kind of steak. I don't even remember what it was, but I remember it showing up, and I kid you not, it looked like they just like sort of chopped a chunk out of a cow's leg and had stuck it on the plate. I could see like the grains of the muscle, I guess. I don't know. Well, I mean, meat is muscle, but anyway, like in the meat, I turned green looking at it, and I was like, okay, there was no bone in it, which is a definite plus. But honestly, it looked so reminiscent, I guess, of the creature from which it came. And I understand where meat comes from. I'm not like, well, meat comes from Safeway. No, I understand where it comes from. But if it's too close a visual reminder of exactly where it came from, I literally can't do it. So I straight up left the table. I just leaned over to my husband and I was like, babe, I can't do this. I'm going to get sick. So I'm actually just going to leave. I'm going to go down to the room, and I ordered French fries on room service. I like gave up this beautiful steak meal for French fries. So that is a way the disconnection is really serving me. Well, I suppose it's not serving me if I like can't eat the meal, but when I know that like I can't have that disconnection if it went too far, right? Where I just couldn't create enough healthy disconnection between, say, the source of meat and actually eating meat, then I would not be able to eat meat at all. And I also know that, I mean, A, I love bacon, B, I love steak. So there's no way I could go in my life without eating meat. And that disconnection is serving me. So all that to say, the disconnection can be really great because if you don't know a limit or a source, you can also engage fully, and you might surprise the heck out of everyone and yourself because you do a hard thing so effortlessly, right? That's sort of coming back to like, if nobody tells you it's hard and you just do it, then it's like, oh, well, that was pretty easy. All right, let's close this section of the episode by talking about what is not so great about flow. So I think that in general, flow is pretty awesome, but I will say that the pursuit of flow can be a really frustrating thing. If you've become convinced that you can only create from a state of flow, you are creating boundaries to how source is expressed through you. The other not so great thing about flow is that we might perceive it to be easy, and that if we're doing anything hard or feels like we need to put in a lot of effort, then it can't really be flow, right? Like if I'm efforting right now, well, that can't be flow. Now, I wanted to say, while I do create everything out of this energy of flow, it is important to clarify that I don't wait for flow to show up. All right? There are there I've heard lots of business trainers and lots of entrepreneurs have talked about this over the years where it's like, but like if I just don't feel it, I just can't sit down and create it. You can actually, and this is what I'll teach you in the back half of the episode, which is again, sign up to get the private podcast feed so you can hear how I do this, but you can actually intentionally create a container of flow. And that does mean that sometimes at the beginning, I'm kind of fumbling around, right? I'm maybe attempting to frame up an outline, or I'm searching like the Googs for some kind of inspiration as I'm aligning into the energy of flow. But it's clear, I want to be clear, I'm not waiting for flow to show up. I sit down and I show the fuck up so that flow can meet me. I set the intention and the two of us come together. The other thing that's not so great about flow is when we see it as this magical state that needs to be just so, where we can like very much limit what we create and bring into the world, right? Like imagine that like the weather has to be a certain way and my hair has to be feeling a certain way and I have to feel it the certain way. And it's like this magical moment where everything comes together just perfectly. Now that's a really, disconnected way, I suppose, to see the energy of flow. What's not so great about flow when it comes to money, it can also be something that we really struggle with when we're financially pressed, right? Remember that flow is the continuous stream of something, which means it flows in and out. And we can really struggle with the out part. The struggle with the out part of flow is such a big topic that I not only talk about that in the core Building Fempires modules, I also actually have an entire bonus module that's called Navigating Financial Gaps, because those are the moments in time when our flow feels restricted and it can really fuck with our minds. So I actually address that head on and give you some tangible reframes, perspective shifts, and tools on how to navigate those spaces when we feel like our flow is being disconnected. Okay, for those of you listening on the Manifesting Millions podcast, this is a great time to remind you that enrollment for Building Fempires opens on November 4th, and there literally isn't a better time to get in. We are in the last quarter of the year. If you're like most people, I'm sure that you're hoping 2025 is somehow going to be a better, more lucrative year than you've had yet. Maybe it's the year you finally figure it all out. You become your best self. You like finish the year going, I fucking did it. Well, what if you could get a head start, right? What if you could start 2025 with not only really great knowledge and understanding of money, finally, thank you very much, but also having shifted and uprooted old money beliefs that have been keeping you stuck, that have been not serving you, that have been getting in the way of creating the reality that you desire to live. So, one more reminder, the enrollment for Building Fempires opens on Monday, November 4th. If you want to get on the wait list so that you get notified the moment that enrollment opens, head on over to amyvanmeal.com/money, and you'll see a prompt for the waitlist at the top. If it is after November 4th, when you are listening to this, then depending on how far after November 4th, enrollment may already be open, and you go to the same URL, amyvanmeal.com/money, and you will see instead of the waitlist prompts there, you will actually see the option to say yes and invest in yourself and fully step through the portal to create massive transformation in your life. So I'm super excited to invite you in. Oh my goodness, I love when students enroll in the program. I love even more when students go through the program because, of course, enrolling is a powerful shift, but the actual change comes forward when you do the work and you lean into it. So I'm inviting you into both. With all of that said, if you have not yet registered for the private podcast feed. You're going to want to do that because on the back half of this episode, which happens only in the private podcast feed, I'm going to share how we can shift disconnection, how you can intentionally create that juicy container of flow that we've talked about, and how to maintain it. I'll talk a little bit about why it's so important to shift both of these. And I'm going to give you some activities that you can do this week to actually ground in and start creating that reality that you desire. All right. So in order to get that, head on over to amyvanmeel.com/money and then number 5. And you can sign up. All you need is your name and your email, and you'll get access to that private podcast feed. And the URL is, of course, in the show notes. And the one last quick plug for if you have not yet and you feel led to take 5 or 10 seconds and just rate the podcast, I would super appreciate that. And with that, my loves, have an amazing week. Bye for now. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. If you loved what you heard today, be sure to share it with me by leaving a review on your favorite podcast platform and help me reach more like-minded people who are ready to expand their life. If you haven't yet followed me on social media, find me on Instagram for extra love and inspiration by following @AmyVanMeel or visit my website at amyvanmeel.com. I love you so much, babe, and I am damn proud of you. I am already excited to connect in the next episode. And in the meantime, believe in yourself with the confidence of a 5-year-old.